special thank you to Bowman Carter for creating the original music for this podcast. You can find Bowman's music by searching for Bowman Carter on Spotify and on YouTube. We've attached his links in our description of today's episode. Please show him love and support. Today on The Survivor's Voice,
the story that kind of begins with just, like loss.
When I saw her name on my cell phone, I knew.
Grieving that loss was definitely tough, and it still is tough.
It's hard to deny that that it was his timing.
the content shared on the Survivor's Voice podcast is intended to be informative and inspirational. We are not licensed therapists, counselors, or medical professionals. The views expressed are based on personal experiences and should not be considered professional advice. If you are in need of mental health support, please consult a licensed professional. Before we begin, this episode may contain discussions of trauma, abuse, or other sensitive topics. Viewer discretion is advised. We don't recommend playing this show with young children present, and we encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Welcome to the Survivor's Voice. I'm your host, Angie Sedore, and today we get to interview two friends of mine, Chelsea and Dustin Brouse, have a tremendous story to tell. And I'm really, really grateful that they came on the show. I think you're going to be really blessed by listening to what they have to say. And so let's just get into it. So Chelsea and Dustin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, you guys are... not everybody listening knows who you are. And so, you have tremendous influence in the community. You guys are like a power couple, like entrepreneurs, literally just you're like a couple to be looked up to in our community. And I just want to honor you in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So before we even get into your story, I want to hear from both of you individually, who are you? What do you do? Give us a background of kind of your upbringing, how you were raised, your family life, and let's talk about that first. Do you want to start, Dustin?
Sure, yeah. I was born in Coeur d'Alene, so we're actually both born in Coeur d'Alene. All of our children are actually in Coeur d'Alene as well. So the family.
So that's
we're kind of
you guys
rare.
are unicorns.
We're unicorns, yes. That word.
Yeah.
That word unicorns in the community for sure. I was born in Coeur d'Alene, but I grew up 30 minutes south of here on the Coeur d'Alene Indian Reservation in Worley, Idaho.
Yep.
Super small town, about 200 people at the max, and it hasn't really grown a whole lot. But growing up, had a brother. My brother is about 3 years younger than me, and lived in a time of the lack of cell phone era. So I was blessed enough to have a life when I was young growing up where just basically you wake up in the morning in the summer and you get out the door and go ride bikes, go play hoops, and just mess around and be a boy until the sun was coming down.
Yeah.
And that's when it was time to come home pretty much. Had a good group of friends down there, a good community, and then moved to Coeur d'Alene and met Chelsea while one of the first few years I was living up here, in the early 2000s, and we got married. We're getting ready to celebrate in August our 20-year wedding anniversary. So
congratulations!
We're closing very close on awesome. 20 years, and we have four amazing kids: Keelan, Taylor, Jackson, and Cambry. Three daughters and one son. And for work, I'm in spirit sales and beverage sales for Southern Glazers, wine and spirits, and selling spirits and wine. And also helping Chelsea as a co-founder of Site Collective, which she'll speak more on Site Collective because, like I said before, to say it lightly, she's carrying 90% of the work on that, So I'm kind of the back end person with that stuff. But as future grows, it's an amazing venture we look forward to and excited about.
Yeah.
So that's a nutshell kind of about me.
You also worked down at the tribe for a long period.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 22 years at the Coeur d'Alene tribe.
That's a long time.
So that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
That was a huge portion of my life.
Huge.
exactly half of my life. You know?
Yeah.
So, super thankful for the Coeur d'Alene tribe and the opportunities that I had working there. I mean, they gave me the start and the platform to be where I'm at now. So the Coeur d'Alene tribe I'll be forever thankful for. And we still maintain good relationships because I've been a part of the Coeur d'Alene tribe from birth to almost this point in my life.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. I grew up in Coeur d'Alene my whole life. So I grew up in Dalton Gardens. I went to Dalton Elementary, Canfield, and then Coeur d'Alene High School. I grew up pretty much like an only child, except for my dad had a son before I was born, and his name was Jesse. So we got to spend summers and Christmas holidays together, and get to spend the entire summer together. And we grew really, really, really close, for the short amount of time that we were together. So we got to spend all the summers together out at the lake. We had a lake cabin growing up on Coeur d'Alene Lake. And so we spent a lot of time out there during my whole upbringing, spending time with family and cousins and swimming and playing cards and hanging out. So I always loved being able to be around cousins because I grew up on my own. And yeah, it always made it more fun. It got boring as a kid. So let's see. Growing up, I had a multitude of jobs. I worked at Applebee's, at coffee stands. Was always kind of in the service industry, and I initially went to college right out of high school for about a year and a half. Me and Dustin got married when I was 19, and we ended up getting pregnant with our firstborn shortly after that. And
super
yeah,
right after.
Yeah. And so I went to college that whole year, and then I stopped going because I just wanted to be able to stay at home more with her and just work part-time. We bought our first house when I was 19 and you were 23, 24. Yeah, in Post Falls. We lived there for a couple years, and then we ended up buying a house back in Coeur d'Alene, and that's where we had Taylor, our second born, and then from there, we had Keelan and Taylor, and then I decided to go back to school to pursue doing hair, and managed 13 months of school for that, and then straight out of school from that, I decided to be independent hairstylist and working for myself. Was able to really revolve my life around my kids and then my business as well. And I did that for 13 years. And then shortly after that, I also started including working for our church, One Place Church, and doing a lot of connect work. And I was kind of stuck between deciding being a hairstylist and working for our church. And that's when I really kind of renegotiated if I was going to make a career change. But while I was a hairstylist as well, we had Cambry. Actually, I think I had Cambry right after I started, becoming a hairstylist. Shortly after that. I can't remember. I got done with school, started my own business, and then shortly after that, we had Cambry. So then, I juggled having 3 kids, and then a couple years after that, I got pregnant with Jackson and had Jackson. And then I started reconsidering a career change because it was really hard on my body, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be sustainable or not. And so I just started pondering it and tried to think of careers that I felt would be a good matchup for me, but it was really hard to decide whether or not I wanted to actually go back to school to be able to do that, having 4 kids. And it didn't really seem, possible, honestly, because I had been out of college for so long. But I was really encouraged by a lot of my clients and people in my life that the hardest step is just the first jump, and you just, your life kind of conforms around that. And then I just enrolled in school that next fall. So being a hairstylist was really ideal for me to be able to go to school for that, though, because it allowed me to move my calendar around, and my clients at that point were very, very loyal. So it was really the most ideal career for me to go back to school and be like flexible around that and make a decent living too for the time that I was there.
Yeah.
And so I went back to school. I didn't even know how to write a paper at all. I had a friend that was a 7th grade English teacher, and she taught me how to write again, and she tutored me to write my first 2 papers that were probably garbage, honestly. But she helped me manage up some decent papers, and then from there it kind of just like flowed and went from there. And I think I got the opportunity to help take on some of your like lit review and all of the stuff for the nonprofit. I feel like it was it my senior year of undergrad?
Maybe.
I think so. I think it was our final project of my undergrad, and and we got to do take on like a community project, and so that was probably one of my favorite like projects that I got to like help and take on, and it was crazy how much I was able to grow in those like 3 years.
Yeah. Look at where you're at now.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, I graduated 2 years ago now, and then I also went right into practicing for myself as well as an independent clinician, and so I've been practicing as an LMSW I just celebrated 2 years.
Congratulations.
So,
That's awesome.
And then after that, after I graduated, I started my own business as the CDA therapist. And then about 7 months into that, we decided to open up Psych Collective. And so we kind of switched up branding and then opened up a practice just beyond myself shortly after that. And we've been open for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into your story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who wants to start?
Oh. I guess, I could start.
Sure.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Coming back to, like, surviving something in the survivor's voice and thinking about the actual podcast name and the story that kind of begins with just, loss. About 7 years ago, Chelsea's, her dad got ill. He was battling a couple different ailments and COPD, and I believe it just about maybe 7 or 8 years ago, because Jackson was just born. Mm-hmm. He kind of had moments where I felt like he was doing pretty good, and then and Chelsea can speak on kind of the end of the life scenario there, but he did pass away from COPD and scleroderma, a couple different ailments, right on the apex of getting ready to, launch his retirement. He had just retired, and he had a lot of visions and things that he wanted to accomplish after retirement. And Chelsea did spend time with him by his bedside, I think, when he was taking his last breaths.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How old was he?
I feel like he was 67. He was born in like 49, so I can't really like remember. I feel like he was like 66 or 67.
Young.
Pretty young. Yeah. And he got diagnosed with scleroderma, I feel like 4 years prior. It was really hard to diagnose. And then I think with COPD, he also had scleroderma inside his lungs, so it was really hard for his lungs to process oxygen, and so it seemed as though he had kind of asthmatic symptoms. It was really hard for him to breathe if he got sick, and and he hated the hospital, so anytime he had to go in, it just was
bullheaded,
miserable.
Didn't like that, just like any other. Most gentlemen, they
Yeah.
don't love going to the hospital.
True. Yes.
Yeah. The day before, I think a couple days before he had passed, he had what seemed like an asthmatic attack, got taken to the hospital. It seemed like he was doing fine the day before, and was in the ICU, but seemed fine. And then the next morning he had another what seemed like another asthma attack, and so they asked to put him on a ventilator to give his body rest, and then after that he just I think was just tired. So.
Yeah, I remember talking to him the night before and joking with him about a few different things, and then it kind of just happened pretty fast. So it was something that we knew he was sick, but I think that the end kind of came on relatively sudden in my mind. You know? So that that was the first loss. I mean, and it was, you know, there was a little bit of a gap after that. I mean, obviously it was hard. Chelsea's lost her dad.
Yeah. Were you close to your dad?
Yeah, she was pretty she was close to her dad. Fast forwarding a little bit into like post like 2021, I received a phone call at work, and I just remember sitting in my office, and you know, Chelsea kind of had, you know, she was crying, and I just knew something really bad, and she had told me that her brother had a massive heart attack and died at 40.
My God.
So, you know, it's like devastating, you know, and she's obviously a lot closer to her brother than me, but the time that we had, you know, he's the same age as me, actually, maybe just a little bit older. Yeah, a massive heart attack playing hoops with my nephew.
Completely unexpected.
Yeah, you know, it was Mother's Day weekend. I think they were down visiting his mom, right? So, you know, that was just, he didn't make it to the hospital, you know. Didn't even make it to the hospital.
Did he have kids?
He has 2 kids. Yeah, he had 2 kids. Our Chelsea and I's only niece and nephew that we actually have. He lived in North Carolina and South Carolina areas. So, you know, we had, we went over there to the service and everything, and it was the pandemic was still in somewhat of a form, or it was in a pretty good form. So there's a lot of different, just weird traveling during that time.
Who called you?
My sister-in-law. I had just gotten back from a trip with my best friend and felt so good. Like, I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't think I've slept in like 16 years since I've like had kids, you know, like, and I just remember, like being just revived. And then it was a week later that I was at work doing hair, and I got a phone call from my sister-in-law that had, and I knew like right when she called, because we didn't talk like a lot, but here and there. And I just, like, when I saw her name like on my cell phone, I just, like, I knew. And then she just said like, hey Chels, like, I have some really, really hard news to like tell you. And I was like, okay. And she's like, Jesse had a heart attack. He was at the basketball court playing basketball with Sammy, which is my nephew, and he didn't make it. Like, he didn't make it. And I was like, okay, and asked her like what she like needed and how I could like help her, and I was so sorry. And and so that happened in May, and then they had a service for him. They wanted to have a service for him on his birthday, which was June 11th. And so a really important part about like grieving, what I've come to find out, is like going to the service, especially when it's like sudden and onset, and especially if you don't live around them, it's really, really important to go to the service to be able to accept the fact that they like indeed passed. And so I knew that I was going to have to go to a service for a multitude of reasons, but one of those being that I needed to be able to accept that that's what happened, and then also to be able to serve my sister-in-law and my niece and nephew, and to be able to care for them very well. So so me and Dustin planned on going to his service in Myrtle Beach for that June. Yeah, it was super sad. It obviously was very, very like unexpected, and I don't know, in the depths of my soul, I just know that if he was able to, I feel like he just took on a lot. He took on a lot, physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, emotionally.
Well, you didn't disclose that he was an 8-year Marine. He was a Marine.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And had a couple tours, you know, so, and lived in the Philippines for years and did contract work in the Philippines, and his family was over there. So I mean, his story, like leading up to, you know, what she's speaking of, is just wanted to shed light on some of the things that he did for our country.
Yes.
And some of the weight that she's speaking of is for some of those hard things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he really prided himself in being kind of like private, and I think just he was really good at like keeping everything in a way, and I just really believe if he learned how to like be able to like process like emotion and like hard things, that he probably would still be here to this day, because I do feel like if you aren't able to process those kinds of things, like your body physically like manifests it. And there's no doubt in my mind that like his body was storing like a lot of that energy in like a non-functional way. And yeah, I hope that like it's kind of a testament to like why I do like what I do to help people process appropriately.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was a very, very rough loss for my niece and my nephew.
Oh my
he
gosh.
He was their secure attachment.
He was.
So
how old were they?
Sammy was 16.
He was 15, and my niece was 20 at that time.
Okay.
So she was in her senior year of college, and he was 15. And that was a very, very like hard loss for them.
Yeah.
He was
Super
the
hard.
glue that kind of like kept their family together.
He was definitely that.
So I decided to do 16 credits at the grad level, and then still work part-time doing hair, and then I had a 20-hour practicum at Heritage Health that year, and so started that in August of 2022. And then that year we've also had exchange students, so we've had 3 exchange students
Oh, that's right.
as well. So yeah, we had like 5 kids. I was in my last year of grad school. I was so thrilled to like have this part of my life over.
What happens? I'm going to go to which is now Canopy Village, which is the old children's village, or is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yes.
We were gonna go help set up we were doing some work for them, nonprofit work with a core group that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I decided to not pay attention to the road driving from my house, which is only like a mile away, and I hit the curb and blew my tire.
Oh shoot.
So I roll into there. Well, I'm messing around with it. I never had to change a tire in this car. Didn't realize there was a special nut to get even the stuff loose. And my dad was the mechanic, and he's the guy I would call.
Yeah.
So I called him, sent him a picture. We're talking about this, that, and everything else. And I said, I think actually one of my buddies is going to be able to go get a part. So we went to his shop, and I remember talking to him in the shop. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, like when my dad passes away or when he moves on in his life, because he's the mechanic. He takes care of everything. He's got all the tools and stuff. I had that conversation with Justin in his garage that day. And in that conversation, my dad was like, well, if you don't get it fixed, I'll come help you out or whatever, and then so we got the part. We ended up getting the tire, like the spare put on and everything, and called my dad and told him about it. And he's like, well, we're in Spokane, because it was my brother Nancy is my brother's girlfriend. I think it was her birthday, so they went over and had breakfast with them in Spokane. So they lived in Worley, and they're like, we'll spin over and say hi, or whatever, check it out. And okay, thank you. It sounds really good. The girls had prom that night, right?
I think they had homecoming.
Homecoming. Yeah, homecoming's in the fall. Yeah. So my parents, show up that day. We're just kind of hanging out. It was a Saturday, and we were working on. My daughter had a tail light out in her car, so we were fiddling with that. My dad's much better at that stuff than me, and he's like, "Well, I got a light that's out." So he goes, we'll go up to the local hardware store or whatever. I'll pick up a part. And I said, I'll go with you. And I said, he's like, no, you don't need to go with me. It's fine. I'll be right back. I said, no, I'll go with you. Why? I don't know. And then I even asked Jackson to come with us. And Why again? I don't know. In the car, another one of those divine moments where I'm like, I'm not going to get too many more of these moments because my father had already had a heart attack like 3 years before that, or maybe whatever, had a stent put in, and he's never was always healthy. Even he didn't take care of his health great. I mean, he just enjoyed eating popcorn and
having ice cream,
licorice, whatever, all those things.
Yeah.
He just, so I had a moment where I just like, these moments are gonna be few and far between. And so we went up to the hardware store and we actually got the parts and came back, and it was just a random thing. And then the girls were getting ready that evening for homecoming, so there was some photos taken with me, and my mom took a photo of me and the girls, and they ended up, because I was actually heading down to the Coeur d'Alene Resort to Whiskey Barrel weekend, and was doing a function. So a friend of mine, my sales partner, was picking me up, and my parents, Chelsea, might have had something going on too. They volunteered to watch the little kids.
And I had to take the girls to to Bardenay's to go eat dinner, and all their friends,
do some photos
and
or something.
Yeah,
right?
so they offered to watch the little kids and get pizza.
So they had
That's nice.
all stuck around.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, it was a really beautiful weekend. So they were out on the porch when I left. I remember my sales partner picking me up and my parents being on the porch with my kids, not knowing what would happen the next day.
It was like a really beautiful day. Like, not planned, but so divine.
Yeah.
So divine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next day, we were going to Green Bluff, and I don't know, my parents decided to take a bike ride. So they had a Harley Davidson trike, and they were going up to Priest River and stuff like that. So they were on a beautiful day, like 70 some degrees. We're at Green Bluff, and my mom was texting me something, and I sent her a picture of Jackson and Hunter there at Green Bluff. And so we got back, and after Green Bluff, we usually get together at the McCombs, and we have chili and stuff and apples. The kids, we just have a kind of little thing that we've been doing. So it was Sunday night football, and my football team was playing as well. I think we had gotten to right about halftime of the game. My brother sent me a text and said, "Call me." And I'm like, "Oh, my brother and I, I would do anything for him, but we don't we're not always talking every day, and stuff like that." I was like, "Huh, okay." I, at the time, wrapped up in the game, didn't think anything very much of it. And I actually probably didn't even call him back right away, maybe a few minutes, I think. And I just stepped outside, and he called me, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, something about talking with the police. And I'm like, "Oh, geez, what's going on?" Somebody in trouble or something. That's kind of what I first impression was. Well, and they were in a motorcycle accident, and I'm like, "Oh gosh." I was like, are they okay?" He's like, "They're both gone." No, no, that's not true. No way, no, so I was like, "No way." And then I was like, I gotta call you back or whatever, So I'm panicking. Chelsea's leaving the parking lot, and I'm running up to her, banging on the door. And probably, I don't even know how I sound in that moment, but I'm trying to call my mom and my dad. They're not answering the phone. I still didn't believe it. Chelsea was very helpful, and she was very calm in the situation too, for reals. And she okay, and I'm just pacing, and I think she gets back in the house, and I don't even know if you didn't call my brother, did you?
I think I actually talked to your brother.
Oh, okay.
I think I took the phone from your brother while you were talking to him, and then I was like, "Hey, can you tell me who you talked to, who called you?" Because I just wanted to verify,
right.
that it was like fully like accurate. He told me that he talked to the police, like the Post Falls Police Department. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just call and like confirm.
Yeah.
So I called the Post Falls Police Department and then just to confirm like with them, and then they had verified that like Dustin's parents were indeed in a single fatality accident. I did ask like if they had hit anybody else or if anybody else had gotten hurt or anything, and they were like, no, it was only the single motorcycle, and they verified like where it like was, and they were like, we're really 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 sorry. We got some of their like belongings and let us know like where the accident was. And so then after that, I think I came in, and then we had planned on going home, and then called your aunt and uncle to come over, and your brother to come over right away so that we could just discuss like obviously the shock of it, but also like how to inform family and like friends, because they lived in a small community, and kind of like next steps on like what.
And I was like, in my mind, I was like, it was dark. Like, I was not thinking rationally. I'm like, why are they out riding their bike right now? What the hell? Why aren't they home? You know, and
they're always home before dark.
Like,
his
why?
dad was
You know,
very
what the hell?
particular.
You know, and then obviously it happened hours and stuff before. It would happen like not shortly, long after my mom had sent me that text. She was leaving from a place, so it was midday, and thankfully there wasn't any other vehicles involved. But like your brain's envisioning like what's this, you know, this bike driving off a cliff, or like how does this happen, right? And kind of reality took a long time to kind of set in. And obviously Chelsea was like, she was a rock star warrior, like in just like being calm and being able to like have conversations with my aunts and my dad's sisters, and then calling my mom's sister, and all around that. And then ultimately, you know, the accident was a single vehicle. Nobody else was involved, thank God. On a straight stretch where you go up there and you go, how does this happen? You know, and witnesses saw, you know, my dad slump over. It was a medical emergency that of some situation that caused, you know, this to happen. And unfortunately, you know, that was what took both my mom and my dad that day.
There was people there like right away.
Yeah,
like,
were definitely people
there was
there.
Neighbors there that tried to like help them like right away. From what like some people have mentioned is that like some ambulance workers and stuff, they have mentioned like despite it being like a outcome that they would not want, like there also was like an element of like a lot of like peace up there, and like
people that we knew, people that we knew worked on my mom and dad. They were there, and somebody talked to a person at church that had spoke about the accident, and then found out like connected through people at church, the gentleman that that said, oh, I know Dustin, I go to church with him. And he's like, you know, I was a believer, and there was just like, when I came up on there, I just knew that like I felt peace in a crazy situation. So, you know, all these things happen, and then you know, when I'm at some point I'm reflecting, and I'm just like reflecting back to the day before and those scenarios that I had that were like so like real, like didn't happen for a reason. It had to happen for a reason. Like it was so divine that those two conversations, not just one or two mindsets that I had, led to that. But it was just, I mean, I believe that God definitely put my parents in both my brother and our lives that day before. It wasn't scheduled. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. So that was pretty divine in that scenario. So that was I mean, grieving that loss was definitely tough, and it still is tough. But being able to come on and talk about it, and talk about, and there's a little bit more to still go, but is just that, there's going to be other people that feel like they're alone in situations and don't have maybe someone that they could maybe listen to or just lean on or walk beside. So that's kind of what my thoughts moving forward. Like, you can either thrive or dive in a situation like this. It can get really bad, or you can choose to embrace what you had. And even though that's hard sometimes, try to honor your parents and the family the best you can, and that's and help walk beside somebody else that's going through this, because it's not easy. And going through this, like literally 2 months after, maybe not even 2 months, because this was October. I believe the next scenario happened in November. So, and that was a month and a half later. Chelsea will speak onto this more than anything. Our sister-in-law had a medical emergency, and she was in a state of a coma, basically. And we got to, however, she could speak on that, but she ended up, she's not with us anymore either. And that was,
And that's your brother's
wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, losing two people at the same time was very shocking, and not you can't anticipate the loss of like two people at one time. It definitely felt like a shit show for sure. For at least a good week, our house was like just bombarded with like flowers, people,
lots of
food,
just support for sure. Lots of support from friends and family.
Our house was kind of like the central hub for everybody to come, and so that was hard. And we had his parents' service the end of October. A beautiful service at our church. They put it on.
It was amazing.
And then 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from my niece stating that her mom was found by her little brother and was taken to the hospital and was in life support. She had struggled with an opioid addiction from the Philippines that we weren't really aware of until about the year prior, after my brother had passed, and she had overdosed, and my nephew had found her, and so they took her to the hospital, and she suffered what's called an anoxic brain injury, which she had lost 19 different areas of oxygen to her brain, and so she was 44, and my niece and nephew were trying to decide what to do with their mom, whether or not to leave her on life support and put her in assisted living, or to put her on hospice, on comfort care, and like let her go because of how bad of a brain injury she had. And so I had decided to fly out to the East Coast to go help them decide what to do, and also how to do all the things of managing their household. My nephew was 17 and she was 22, and so there was just like legality things that had to happen, like, and they didn't know how to do that. And so I ended up buying a one-way ticket to North Carolina the end of November, shortly after Thanksgiving.
And I knew she had to go, even though I didn't want her to.
Right.
I mean, I knew
I
she
mean,
had
the
to.
timing.
I mean, it was definitely, but like, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Like, you need her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. But you needed, like, our niece and nephew needed. I mean, they had some support over there, but she definitely had to go over there.
Yeah. All of my sister-in-law's brothers and sisters went out there that first week to help them, and then they all went back home to go back to work and everything. And so my niece and nephew were like on their own. And so one of my practicum advisors advised me to go out there and go help them. They're like, they need somebody to help them. Like, there's not enough people, and they need to know what questions to ask the doctors, and like all of those things. And so I went out there to go visit them, and then basically just was with them for about like 14 days until I was able to ask permission from my niece if it was okay if I asked the doctor about like standard of living and quality of life, like very specific questions that not a lot of people would know to ask.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I was in grad school, so I was able to look at some medical research with being a student and kind of got a better understanding of that kind of injury and like what to anticipate. And so then I was able to ask like the doctor just some really critical questions on quality of life if she were to be in assisted living, and it went against like her own advanced directive of like what she wanted and her standard of living. And so then we decided to put her on comfort care and hospice, and then she had passed pretty quickly like after that,
in which they had said she's young, she's strong, you know, this could take a while,
mm-hmm.
you know, because when they do that with a strong person, I mean, she was physically strong,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and young, so that like preparing for that journey being a little bit longer, but she actually went pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
so that was like
Mm-hmm.
some reassurance that like that's what she wanted, you know, or that's what her body wanted, or however that all shaken out. But I think there was a relief that, you know,
That was
she
peaceful.
was more peaceful for her that way, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she had passed in December, and then went back out there in January to go to her service to support my niece and nephew again, and just try to show up for them like after that. So yeah, and that was all like within 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Between my brother and like
The
Dustin's
four of them,
parents and
then, you know, just the starting with the losing your father,
mm-hmm.
and then the gap there, but just that compounded through 21 and 22 for people that are significantly a part of your life. You know, when you have one sister-in-law, that was my only sister-in-law, your parents, and learning how to live life without your parents. I mean, everybody. Hopefully everybody. Like, I don't want my kids to have to go before me. That's for sure. At some point, you're right.
No.
You know, we'd never
No.
want that. So, like, at some point, that does happen in most people's lives. But on the way it happened and how quick it happened, it was tough. And I know it's still tough for my brother. It's tough for me, but figuring out how to honor them the best way possible. It was a short period of time. It was not easy.
It was rough for sure.
It was.
Like, I felt like every time we got back up and kind of like got like momentum, and it was like another knockdown. For sure. I was so thankful that I went to therapy ahead of time. I was advised to go to therapy because I was studying psychology to be a therapist, and so I was so glad that I really invested in that ahead of time, because I really do feel like it helped me with just my resiliency during it, and just somebody to resource like how to like process that appropriately and how to prepare and how to be in a healthy state of like response, and investing in that like ahead of time, I know like helped me tremendously. And so because you can't anticipate it, you can't but we also we know that like losses happen.
There are going to be other people that go through those things, and you know, and I would suggest that they, you know, look for help, you know, from someone that maybe can walk beside them. And I would be someone that I'd be very willing to do that, to hopefully make their journey a little less, if any way, any supportive, like just a little bit here, shed some light and make it a little easier on them. You know, it's going to be hard no matter what, but if it can be a little easier, then hopefully I can maybe I'll do that for somebody in the future. My faith. And you know, that would be the ultimate tool. You know, having faith that, you know, I'll see him again, and having faith that there was a divine moment that that was created before the day before. And even like when I was down running in Lewiston, and really praying over, you know, the business and stuff, and you know, and how we were going to start that up, and you know, and there was a song that came on my podcast that oddly, it reminds me of my mom. I mean, it's not like a song that like you would probably do a mama son daughter dance at it or whatever. Or, let me explain. Like at a wedding, you wouldn't have that song play, but it reminds me of my mom for whatever reason. So like, it was just this emotional thing. I was just thinking about it. I was praying over it, and that song came on, and just like I was like crying while I'm running. I'm sweating. I'm crying. I'm like, this is the right thing to do. So, your faith, God does show up, he showed up big for that. So like, and hopefully that testimony can help realize people too. And when Pace spoke, he talked about the gap that you have when you really there's really a gap, and nobody here can fill that gap until you see your parents again. So that gap is there, but that gap will get filled at one point. So
yeah, I would agree. Like for sure, I think investing in our church family for as long as we had was really, really helpful, because every time that we had to have like a service, I mean, our church really like stepped in and really, really, really took care of us.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I mean, they held my dad's service, Dustin's parents' service, and they did everything. And so I think investing ahead of time, and then like they showed up, and even during like the time of loss, like I don't know if I've also ever felt Jesus like more like in that time, like more in that time. Like it was really, you would think that he felt like far away, but it actually felt like really, really, really like close and like warm and like comforting. And I think it was like through the people that are like still here, and
absolutely.
and so I would say that, and your support systems as well. And
you need
and probably those like two things for sure. Investing in your like mental and emotional health like up front was really, really helpful. To have somebody to resource to along the way. Even my therapist was like, Charles, like loss happens, but typically not this like in a short amount of time. And
that's significant.
And like I don't know, Jesus just showed up a lot. Even with my dad, like 3 months before he passed, our pastor's dad was struggling as well, and he had done a sermon on his processing, and he had asked us to put a reminder on our phone. God is big, God is good, and he is faithful. And I have a time in my phone, and I put it in at 11, and I remember like the day before my dad passed away, I just remember praying and asking him like, if my dad is supposed to live, like please just like help him, and if he's not, like I believe in your timing, and like just have mercy on him and me. And like and that next morning we decided to take him off life support. One of my really, really good friends and a girl that I did her hair, Molly, ended up being on his case as his nurse. And like we didn't ask for her to be on his case, like she was put on his case. And I asked her, like, will you please take care of him and not let him suffer? And she was like, I'm really, really sorry, this is gonna be a hard day, but I promise you it'll be a beautiful day. And like she took really good care of him, and we took him off of life support, and he ended up, that quote came up on my phone at 11, and then a minute later he passed. Wow. And so just things like that, like it's like hard to deny that that it was his timing. Like it's not my timing, but it's like his timing. And like and then also even with me losing my dad first, like that allowed an opportunity for me and my niece to get very, very close, because then her dad passed and I had to experience that. And so I was able to be empathetic and be able to be relatable during her time of grief as well. And then with Dustin's parents passing, I also was able to be really, really helpful to my niece and nephew because I wouldn't have known the things that I needed to know, even going into helping them, like, because we had just lost his parents, and so it all was, like, divine.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our guests to just really encourage them, especially if they're struggling with grief right now? Like, what could you tell them that would just give them some hope?
I would say, you know, that it's cliche, but time does heal things, right? It makes things easier, you know, but like you will choose to not forget. Like, I think a lot of people think that time, you know, I'm just going to, like, I don't want to forget about this moment. They're going to, the thoughts are going to drift away. No, they're always with you. Your family's, your parents are with you. A loss of it, whatever that looks like, they're always going to be with you if you allow that to be there. Just getting the mindset as time goes on to really just switch from the hard grief to like a remembrance and how to have that remembrance mentality.
Yes.
And just remember them in their most perfect state. You know, there's times where my mind wants to go back to the accident place and that tragic moment, but if I can pivot to good memories, or like what I feel like my parents are like doing now and how they feel now and how healthy they are now, there's a lot of joy in that. So
I think just remembering that, like, your state of grief, also, you won't be stuck in this state of grief forever, and that time, I think, allows it to get a little bit lighter. Like, you'll never not miss them or miss elements of them or anything like that, but with time, it gets lighter. It gets more easier to bear. And I think being able to honor them makes it more bearable. And it creates meaning to the loss and the pain and the hurt.
Well, and it can shift your mindset a little bit to like perspective on life, you know, and like that would be like my perspective, like live life now, you know. I'm not saying that like saving up for retirement isn't a bad thing. It's not, but like if we put all of our eggs in a basket for the future, you know, that's just like we have so much like
that we're not even promised,
things.
right?
We're not promised the future.
Yeah.
There's so many beautiful things now that we should definitely, you know, take advantage of and realize that you step into another person's world, that behind every human that you're talking to in life, there's a story.
Yes.
And that story is, everybody's got a story, and everybody's got a story that's hard. You know, they've got some very awesome testimonies, and some of them, a lot of people have hard stories. So just how do we treat people, you know, and realize, go back to like, you know what, when I was in a vulnerable area, in a vulnerable time in my life, how was I treated?
Yeah.
And hopefully I can reciprocate that back to anybody that I come into contact with, and just try to be my best version of myself and remind myself of that every day.
Do you guys feel like death changed you somehow?
Changed my perspective on life for sure. Like it changed my, like, probably my mindset on like what is most important, you know, and it's living in it, about being present, you know, and not focusing so much on, you know, maybe work and stuff like that, and realize that, you know, that's just one portion, and that your family and everything else and all these other elements in life are so much more important.
Agreed.
Yeah, it definitely changed my perspective on time. That's just it's not guaranteed. I probably had a little bit of an entitled mindset that like you'll have this time, but obviously when you go through a lot of losses like within a short amount of time, and as young as the people were like in our lives, like it was a big perspective change to face the reality that you really aren't guaranteed that. And if you you just need to take advantage of like your time that you have in the very present moment, and to be just appreciate it. And if you are going to have it, to be able to be brave and courageous and make bold moves, and like just not wait. Like if you want to do something, you need to do it now.
Yes,
I agree.
agreed, 100%. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are so resilient.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming,
We
sharing your
appreciate
story.
inviting us on so we can talk about it.
Yeah,
So and that is important things to talk about.
it is.
Right?
It really is.
She spoke to that really, really truthfully about your brother. Just talk about it. Somebody else can hear the story. Somebody else can realize that somebody else is walking beside them. That they're not alone on an island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. Yeah.
It definitely it creates meaning and purpose to your pain.
Yeah. Agreed. Safe Harbor is dedicated to helping survivors of trauma find healing and restoration through support, resources, and community. They provide hope for those affected by human trafficking. Visit safeharborforfreedom.com to learn more or support their mission today. Thank you so much, Safe Harbor, for supporting the survivor's voice. Next week on The Survivor's Voice.
It was about 140-mile-an-hour impact, and I didn't even know I was alive. I was thinking, did I survive that? He pointed at me and he said, if you don't get a handle on this, pretty soon you're going to be afraid to leave the house.
Thank you for listening to this story on The Survivor's Voice. I'm your host, Angie Sedore, reminding you that every survivor's story matters. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible listeners for your support, and to the survivor community for your courage and resilience. You are the heart of this show. Special thanks to our producer and editor, Christina Elder, to Bowman Carter for our beautiful song, and to Dan Wise with North Idaho Podcast Productions for bringing these powerful stories to life. Your dedication, talent, and most importantly, your hearts make the survivor's voice possible.